Now, we also need to have ways of using the ease and, and convenience of various media and making that a benefit for us, of being able to say, here's something important, to certify a particular website is an important one to go and look at for news and information, even beyond what we provide in our own news organizations. Clearly becoming a preferred platform provider across platforms is an important, as we operate in multiple platforms, if all media companies are no longer stuck in their one platform. We have to see how can we become the preferred provider, because that's a way of creating value for ourselves. We can provide participation in journalistic processes. This is something a lot of journalists don't like. They don't like the public getting involved in the processes. They see it as somehow disturbing the profession. And it is true that there are certain professional practices that journalists have, but journalists don't have much knowledge. And so they rely on their practices to help them go out and get the knowledge from other people. But now with the communications that we have, you can have economists talking directly to using their media. You can have politicians talking directly. You can have the public coming back into it, asking questions, carrying on conversations, debate and discussion. But that is a very disturbing thing for the profession of journalism that in the past 75 years has built up a reasonably good lifestyle and income stream as part of it. And having the public become involved in that process is threatening not only to that professional standards and the value that they have created, but to the whole role they see that the media play. So all of these become important things that organizations have to do so. Many of these apply to entertainment media as well, and the idea of original content that is unique is an important part of it. And the real interesting thing to me is that many people in entertainment companies that I talk to now see that their business is, oh, I'm in broadcasting. No, they're not. They're in entertainment. And they're competing against DVDs, and they're competing against video on demand, and they're competing against film, and they're competing against a variety of types of communications of entertainment content in a way that they never did before. And making those kind of leaps in terms of understanding what business you're in is an important part of all of these. External partners are really important in making all of this work, and certainly the external partners are allowing the changes to take place in the traditional value chains. And we're getting new ways of creating and linking suppliers and distributors and others in this process, and it's an important part of what we do. And so in the future, as we rely more and more on partners or integrate them in different ways, being those people that are able to have the best cooperation and coordination with those other partners in supply and distribution are in fact going to be able to increase their performance along the way. This requires new skills on the part of managers in media companies, because it means that you have to negotiate and use influence rather than hierarchical power to get what you want out of the relationship. And that is those are skills often that many people in media companies have not developed very well over recent years. And the kind of organizational requirements that are necessary today to do video on demand, or to have pay services, or to have payment systems in an online environment require interdependence and collaboration. They can't all be done internally because they require different sets of skills and different sets of capabilities that require one to work with banking organizations and telcos and others in a way that we haven't had to in the past. Now, all of these things permit a lot of movement of sum of functions outside of the company, the disintegration of what has been that traditional value chain. And there are a lot of incentives to break that value chain apart, to get rid of some of the rigidity in the organization, to become much more niche, to deal with the problems of complexity in the organizations, the desire for efficiency. All of these are incentives to disintegrate along the way. So we have the need to do that. But we need to know also that there is a certain amount of danger in doing that, and that is that the consolidation and concentration in supply chains for technology and for certain services out there do create some problems. And because they can increase dependence, and they can reduce bargaining ability, and they can decrease the ability to create joint value creation. And one of the biggest fights that you see today, for instance, is going on just over the distribution of content, whether it be on music in MP3 players, or whether it be books on the internet being sold by Amazon, or whether it be newspapers and e-readers. The problem is the question of whose customers are they? Is it Apple's customers, or is it the music company's customers? Is it the newspaper's customers, or is it going to be Amazon's Kindle's customers? And these are real issues that are being discussed as these value chains are changed and disintegrated and then reintegrated again. So these are all things that we have to look at. But ultimately, the challenge for us is the need for media companies to acquire better knowledge and skill in online distribution, mobile and other telco distribution, business services, a range of activities there, and a need for really ensuring that we have an understanding of the customer relationships there and the values that we're creating with those customers, and ensuring that we have the proper amount of contact with them and knowledge about those end users, because that is a huge part of our ability to survive in news media in the years to come. So we need to then really look at how do we cooperate in this environment. How do we create additional value by bringing partners into this process? It's very difficult to do it without the partners being part of it. And when I talk to publishers and other media executives around the world, everybody seems to be looking for this single formula of how to make this work. But there is no single route to success, and it will differ along the way. It will differ in terms of the markets that you're in terms of the kind of media that you're in. But in the end, none of the benefits can be received unless there is more risk-taking, more innovation, and more testing of new products and business models along the way. But at the heart of all of these have to be increasing the value that is created in the product or service. Thank you very much.